All right. What's up, my man?
What's up,
We're
bro?
gonna fist bump it today.
Yeah, I know. You're starting to worry me with your sniffles.
Dude, just got a little sniffy sniff, and then, acting like a hydrochondriac, man. I said that word wrong, probably.
So wait, this is our first back-to-back show since before.
We have consistently filmed 2 Tuesdays in a row.
That's outstanding.
So,
in the last
showing
what,
a little
6
bit,
months, pretty much.
showing a little bit of consistency. So we'll keep it going, man.
Yeah.
We just had to have a set day, and
I know.
and keep it going from there. But
Yeah.
I think Tuesday is a good day with our schedules and all that.
Yeah.
So for the time being, we'll make it work. How was your weekend, dude?
It was it's busy. I mean, it's funny because you think on weekends, and you're the same. You think on weekends that it's a time to relax, and we're in the middle of a pandemic and all this other stuff. You can't really go anywhere, so you're thinking, oh man, but it doesn't seem to make a difference. I'm still constantly going, and it's funny because you'll send me texts and stuff like that. Even on Fridays, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm busy.
Yeah.
And I wish I was sitting around playing Xbox or PlayStation, and I can't.
A lot of orders.
Yeah. The side business, I mean, it's been good, obviously.
Dude, I don't know if you've explained.
I never have.
Recently.
I never have.
Explain what you and the wifey do, man.
Well, as you know, we've been taking Aiden to Disney since he was, I think we started when he was 2.
When he was in Sam's belly.
And he's now, pretty much, and he's now 7. We go, we have annuals. We go 5-6 times a year. We have been up until obviously this year. We can't do that.
Right.
We have been to Universal Islands once with him as he got a little bit older now, so he loves that. But Disney was a good start for that. So we go all the time. We make custom, which I know you've seen some of it. We make custom Disney ears. We're starting to do other stuff too, but that have to do Disney theme. But we do custom Disney ears that are inspired.
Right.
And obviously when the parks closed, the first month, that kind of there was nothing going on, which was fine because I needed a break because we were, especially over the holidays, man, it was like nonstop. Christmas orders and things like that. And then, I don't know, once there was a talk about the parks opening in a couple months and stuff, things kind of picked right back up and it just hasn't stopped. So on weekends, a lot of times it's catching up on orders and stuff like that. And it hasn't really stopped because even when we aren't having sales, I have to be designing in between. You constantly have to keep coming out with new stuff. It doesn't stop. So
can't let it get dry.
Yeah. So you always have stuff in the pipeline.
Right.
So it's kind of like it just doesn't stop. And then you come up with new types of things. So if it's not just ears, it could be something like the pop sockets. I've done those now, where you can actually attach them to the back of phones. That's like a big thing. What was the other one? These little. For a long time, actually, when the pandemic started, we actually stopped making ears for a bit and started making the mask extenders for the for the COVID masks, the medical masks.
I remember.
Yeah, so they don't go around the
back.
ears; they go around the back of your neck. So we started doing that.
So you won't look like me when I put them on. Then my ears are like that.
There you go. Mine does the same thing.
Yeah.
And we were doing it really. We weren't making money off it. We were literally almost giving them away, and it was only for first responders, nurses, and we're still getting people now that message us and say, hey, they're not on the shop right now. Do you guys still? Do you still make them?
Right.
And we're like, it depends on the situation, yes. So we just had a mom had reached out to us. She wants them for the entire class for her kids to go back. She wants like 40. So, which is fine. I mean, we've made hundreds of them. So it's not a big deal, but it just depends on what's going on and what we do. So yeah, so the business keeps me busy on the side.
And you guys just had an anniversary date with the business, right?
2 years.
There you
which
go.
is insane.
How time flies, huh?
Which is insane.
And what's the business name?
JSA Creations.
There you go.
Yeah,
and
which stands for Joey Samantha Aiden.
Right.
And then Creations is spelled with a 3D instead of EA.
Okay.
It's not hard. If you just do JSA, if you even do a search on Pinterest, we're one of the first ones that pop up.
And you guys can be found on Pinterest, on Instagram.
Instagram, Facebook. Although we don't really. It's connected with the Instagram is connected with our Facebook. Oh, and our Etsy account, which is our main shop. It's on Etsy. So we're one of the,
And how do people find you on Etsy?
Same thing. Just do a search. If you do even a search for 3D printed ears or anything like that, generally we're going to be one of the ones that comes up.
And you do all this at home.
Yeah.
After your 10-hour shift.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
until, during the week, and we've talked about this, I'm up till 12, 1 o'clock every morning, every night, 1 a.m., 1 a.m., 1 a.m., back up at, you know how it goes. It's just, listen, just like obviously in our job, we do details. I hate details.
Off-duty
but
details.
again, our off-duty details. I would much rather work for myself at home. I'll put the hours in, but at least I get to do it from home.
Yeah.
I'm not humping outside. I'm not out, late and stuff like that.
And because you live so far away from
exactly.
the city.
The drive for me is easy. Obviously, you being so close, you can hop in and out. It's easy.
Yeah.
And I get it. There's pros and cons to that. So, that's the way it works. But yeah, man. And it's crazy how the whole thing started originally, and I can't believe we got into this, that this even came up. But yeah, it was crazy. It wasn't like we started out, hey, let's come up with a business. It wasn't like that. We were going on a trip. She used to order custom ears off Etsy, because you can order a bunch of stuff off there. A lot of custom stuff, handmade stuff. There was one girl there was one shop that she got ears from, and every time we were going to go on a trip, she would get specific ones, whether it's Star Wars or if it's Toy Story, whatever it was we were doing.
Right.
And the problem was that the wait time from this girl ended up being sometimes like 2 months. So my wife knew I got to order these well in advance. So she's, very organized. So she would order these things 2 months in advance. And right before we went on a trip, just to make a long story short, right before going on a trip, we realized these ones that she ordered months in advance weren't coming in time. We were like 3 days away from leaving, and the shop owner happened to be in the middle of a move to California. It just wasn't going to happen.
Right.
So I said, you know what? And me, I'm a tinkerer. I've been doing 3D printing for a couple of years before this already. Knew nothing about 3D modeling, but I've been in computers for 20 years. I can figure stuff out. So I said, I'm going to reverse engineer. I'll figure something out. Locked myself in the room for like a weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Kind of took a couple models that I had seen on like Thingiverse, which is a site you can actually download models from.
Right.
And I kind of reverse engineered it to make my first rudimentary kind of crude 3D ear, which came out pretty good, but it was just basic, super basic. I could do it in my eyes closed now, but we did that, put them together. They were super heavy, but they were 3D ears. They worked. We went, and Aiden will continue to remind her now that she lost her first pair on one of the rides. And every time we walk past this ride, years later, he'll still say, Mom, remember when you dropped your
Nice.
Yeah, so anyway, when we were there, people were asking us, hey, where did you get those? Oh, we made them. Oh, do you have like you have an Etsy account? Do you have an Instagram? No, just made them.
Nice.
So when we got back, we're like, and that's how it kind of started. And here we are 2 years later. It blows me away.
How many followers you have now?
I think on Instagram we're like at 3,000, which is actually moderate compared to some of the other shops we're really close
you
with.
guys are doing very well.
And
still able to spend time with the family and stuff like that. You guys
listen.
It's all time management, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I remember when you started, I said, name your price, and if it gets more than that, cut it, because you got to have that time, man.
Yeah.
You can't go backwards with time with the kiddos, man.
Yeah. So I mean, it's crazy, but yeah, I can't believe, because I'm like, we'll sell a couple a month, whatever. Yeah. In the beginning, that's how it was, because nobody knew us. Now there's times where we get swamped. And I'm like, and there's other shops. Listen, we're just doing it on the side. There's shops that this is what they do for a living, and they're massive, bro. They have thousands of sales per month. Mm-hmm. They're moving in these massive houses. It's crazy. So, and I know people always ask the same thing. Hey, just before you even, and then we'll be done with it. What about Disney? Does Disney, as far as the copywriting and all that stuff, if you're not directly putting Mickey's face that says Mickey Mouse on it and all that stuff, which some people do, generally they're not gonna mess with you. If everything's inspired, you know what I'm saying? Then you should be okay.
That's a good point. And sometimes people overlook all that. Right,
and quite honestly, Disney kind of embraces it, because there's literally thousands of shops doing this. All kinds of things, from pendants and all kinds of stuff. There's ones that have custom, which I know you don't even know what the hell a Magic Band is, but there's ones custom where it actually you'll slide onto your Apple Watch or
Fast
your
Pass.
watch. Yeah, there you go.
Let's call it a Fast Pass.
The old Fast Pass days of receipts that died like
no
years,
more. Okay.
Way.
Listen, my baby's 12. Yeah. It's been a while since
I know.
I went to.
So anyway, yeah. So there's a lot of people that do it, and there have been shops that we know that have got a cease and desist from them. So we're like, we start going through the shop again. Okay, this could be, take that off. Like just a couple things that maybe, they're not going to give you a hard. But the thing is, think about it. It drives business to the parks. Yeah. Because people want to buy stuff and then go there. And then Disney's smart in that they look at what's selling, and then they tailor their own stuff to look like our stuff, basically. So their ears don't look like. I mean, they still sell the old. Remember the old
school,
old school ball cap with it.
Yeah.
You can get those, but the ears now look like ours. They got LEDs
Nice.
in them and all kinds of stuff where it's So they're not stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your
you know,
weekend was filled with orders, and
That's pretty much.
I remember texting you. And I was like,
Yeah.
dude, watch
I know.
watch something, relax.
I know.
And,
I know.
you know.
And like I said, we're trying to get which we need to get our fence fixed, which has been a sore thumb since we moved in the house, about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was just destroyed. It wasn't the greatest shape when we got there, when we first got the house, which is among other things. And the multiple storms that we've had, hurricanes through seasons, have just decimated the damn thing. I mean, it's literally like termites holding hands trying to hold it up.
Yeah.
So we got a guy coming pretty soon to get that taken care of, to finally get that done with. You know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
The major projects.
Oh yeah. It started with the fence because
Yeah.
we had the same.
Oh, the
thing.
bedroom set.
We had but that's why.
Bro.
That's why we're reminded that we're blessed, because there's people legit struggling financially.
Listen, and I know this sounds terrible to say this, but I can't help it. It just worked out that way. It wasn't like,
because we
well, we haven't stopped working. Number one,
Right.
we're fortunate in that we haven't
Right.
stopped working. So
and it is what it is. I mean, we it's not like we've got an abundance of money at all times to do these things. So
No.
yeah, I mean, listen, we've taken advantage of some breaks here and there, and
Yeah.
we both have done stuff to the house. Like, we started with the fence, got the damn backyard done, got the whole new landscaping done. That's why I told you don't mention no more shit in front of my wife, bro. I don't need no more ideas, bro. I'm good.
let me tell you, bro.
You
But
know.
listen, just as you've done that, you've been able to expand the home gym a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's funny because you compare the big purchases, and then she'll always throw it back to me like, oh, but you got this. I'm like, how is that the same?
I know. Well, you know how it is with wives. It's pretty much what it is.
Every project, and I still get thrown at me but when you got cameras, I'm like, do you understand that was 10% of what you're talking about right now?
I know.
I'm like, holy moly.
I know.
Yeah, but it's, and again, that's we've been very fortunate. We have our jobs, we have job security. It's, I think I said this last week, but it's weighing a little heavy.
Yeah.
It's a little bit draining. We go to work with a positive attitude, but it's I don't know how else to explain it. It's weighing on us.
Yes.
We spoke last week about Anthony Diaz, who was a Toledo police officer who passed away. And I don't want to make this a whole sad thing again, but now there was 2 more in Texas. Right?
Yes, they were ambushed. And I don't know, and again, just like the Anthony Diaz, I don't know the exact details. I just know that
That they were ambushed.
they were ambushed.
And they were
I
going
think it was
to
a
domestic call.
which is a common, unfortunately, when officers get ambushed, generally it comes on those types of calls.
Yeah.
Because either the significant other knows that the other one called, and they're either waiting. I don't think it was one of those things where they were baiting officers to come. You know what I'm saying? Where they've called people there, knowing that that's what they're doing there specifically. Whereas this was called, and then it just.
And that's why we spoke about it yesterday. And like always, I gotta always say, we won't go into certain details about
Right.
certain things, but where I mentioned yesterday, I don't care what the call is. I'm not gonna have anybody around me go alone.
Yeah.
If I'm available to go, back them up. Nor am I gonna go anywhere without a backup.
Yeah.
And we say it, and it makes 100% perfect common sense.
Yep.
But sometimes we got to catch ourselves, because you get that call in the heat of the moment, you want to go help people, and you got to think our safety as well. And I remember, 10 years ago or whatever it was, talking about that in the academy. You remember certain things, and we know. I don't want to know the percentage, 80%, 90%. You learn, once you get on the actual job, that what you learn in the academy, a lot of it is like,
Well, it's to pass the state exam.
it's a pass the state exam, and it's not real world per se. But there's some things that you remember. Just like I don't
Sure.
know about you, but there's some things that I remember, like my field training officers telling me, and it always stuck with me. But I remember talking about in one of the classes in the academy, talking about domestics. We're like, what do you do if you get the call and the dude is, or the girl is beating the living shit out of the other person, and you get there by yourself? You go in, right? And the instructor was like, no, you don't know what you're walking into. You got to wait for your backup. And that's tough, because you want to help, you want to be a difference maker, and you want to try to solve the problem, but you got to think about your own safety.
Yeah.
The number one rule in our job is to go home safe. Go home to Aiden, me to go home to Frank, Mia, Jacob and Christy. And so, we mentioned just yesterday where an officer nearby was sent to a VIN verification. This is where everything going on, where my mind goes. I don't know if we're 100% sure it's a VIN verification.
Right. You never know. And that's what I talked about.
Who's to stop somebody from calling us for a VIN verification and just waiting for us to show up and blow our brains out? So they send this officer by herself, and I went with her. Where a year ago they wouldn't send two officers for that. You know what I'm saying? So
agreed. Listen, the parades, with the fire department and us, where I know they just had us do them yesterday, but when all this stuff started happening, they stopped us from going to any of them because they know people know where we're going to be. They don't know if we're going to be attacked, so they stopped that stuff. So I get it. It's stuff the mundane stuff that you don't know. And I've been going to a lot of extra calls because of that, because you just don't know.
Yeah.
Even if I'd rather it be nothing than
Yeah, I think I know we both have. You'll do your responsibilities for your unit, and I'll definitely whatever since they're kind of moving me around now. I'll cover whatever zone I'm in, but also if I'm free and available, especially since they don't want us to be super proactive and making a whole lot of traffic stops, so we're not kind of limit how much contact we come in with the public.
Yeah. And that's part of a lot of that. Believe it or not, was even with the pandemic. It had nothing to do with anything else. That's part of that.
Oh yeah. No, especially because of the pandemic. But so anytime that we can go to a call and help, there's strength in numbers, and that's something people don't realize. But
yeah.
But it's
actually, and it's funny. Speaking of that, is a good segue right into what's going on with the schools. I know we've talked offline about this, but I know that they're very adamant about the schools opening. Obviously, Dade, Broward, and the numbers are spiking like crazy right now.
And the superintendent today spoke about that.
Well, that's the thing, and my understanding though is that I guess it was his recommendation, and that he can't force them not to. I don't know. I don't really know what his power is.
I actually heard the little segment where he spoke, and that was his recommendation, that when schools open up in the fall, that it's 100% online learning.
Right.
And then as the numbers get better, kind of go into half online, half
like a hybrid.
Right.
Right.
And then kind of slowly but surely get to full-time thing. And listen, again, every situation is so different. I mean, I can tell you from experience, as a former teacher, you have 25 kids, you got 25 personalities, you got 25 different levels. That is an enormously hard job. You have to navigate through all these challenges as it is when they're in front of your face. Can you imagine now when they're at home? And we've spoken before about if you've got little ones at home, like Aiden. I always say it, my baby is 12 years old. He's self-sufficient. That's not to say he doesn't need help in anything, but he's a really smart little guy, and I just got to monitor the pinnacle and be like, hey, stay on top of his stuff. But I'm teaching this, all three of them to be, self-sufficient and all that stuff. But if you got smaller ones that you have to actively be in, but what do you do if you got to go back to work, or even like you're working from home or whatnot? That's a very, very big challenge.
I know.
So
because there's going to be some that are able to, and I'm pretty sure we'll be able to keep him home, where my wife can work from home for the most part.
Right.
But what about the people that don't even have that option?
And
I don't know. I don't know.
So generally speaking, it makes perfect sense that the quality of education is not going to benefit these kids being home, and that's the argument that that people make.
And I get
that they need to be at school.
I get
but I rather them suffer a little bit academically than,
at least for now. This isn't going to be forever,
right?
And that's the thing.
It feels that way sometimes.
It does. Yes, it does. And I still say I've said this before. I still say this is going to be a 3-year deal, and I hope I'm wrong. I've been saying it, and I'll keep saying it.
I did read where they I don't know what the number was, 20 vaccines they're kind of testing out.
Some of the stuff that I've seen, I even read one today where they're having good results, especially with it boosting the immune system, which is great.
What's the thing that the hydro? What is it that some people
Oh, hydrochlorine? Is that how you I think that's how you say it.
Something
It's
like that.
I think that's how you pronounce
Well, you
it.
got, and that's where you don't know what to believe because is it political? Is it conspiracies? Is it what? Because
I know.
I can tell you, you know, people that I've heard that have used that and had phenomenal results
Right.
and symptoms 3 days and have been just fine. And so it's kind of
I don't,
scary in a way that we
when it
don't
comes-
know what
when it
information
comes
is
to that,
right, what's wrong, what are we being told, and
I don't know what to believe with that because the problem, and this is where it can be an evil, is the social media. You're getting a lot of information, but you don't know what's real and what's not sometimes, and that's the problem. And you understand that you hear a lot of stuff regarding, oh, you know, look, these are the numbers every day, they're spiking, and then you've got this side saying, well, they're not accurate and they're skewing the numbers to give us panic. So you've got one group that says, I don't care, I'm not wearing masks, and it's all a lie. And then you have the others that say,
Yeah.
it's crazy, you guys should wear masks. I get all that. So that's the problem. You don't really know what's real. So when it comes to stuff like that, and you hear about somebody saying, hey, I took it did really well for me. And then others say, no, they should say you shouldn't take it. So I don't really know what's the truth when it comes to that stuff. But I do know that actual vaccines that aren't on the market right now, where you can just take a pill, they're seeing good results so far. But again, I know they got to go through 200 hoops to even get to the point where it's going to be worldwide or public or whatever they're going to do. So I don't know. The whole point is, like I've said, this is like a minefield that we are traversing every day, trying to weave in and out of everything and not get it while everyone around us is getting it, including ones that are in our department. Yeah. And it just continues
we said it last week. Every day we find out somebody else in our department.
I sent you a text yesterday. Somebody else. It's just every day.
That's what's scary.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying.
And that's what kind of has me sometimes paranoid. I'll be going to bed and I'll be like,
you swallow like
10 times.
My throat hurting. No,
see, I know you. Jesus, I know. Especially you start checking because I know every day we get the fever checks just like everywhere else, but the problem is that's not the only telltale sign.
Exactly.
So just because you don't have a fever, it doesn't mean you know.
Exactly.
So
and we get asked the questions now that they have to ask. Do you have a temperature? Have you got? If you gone anywhere the last? I'm like, Sarge, you see me?
And here's
24 the last 25 days. I've been here.
And here's the thing, the ones that we keep hearing about. Oh, now we heard so and so's got it. No, now we heard so and so's got it. And you're like, well, I haven't seen that person in months. The problem is people that you have seen, have they been around them? You don't know, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's concerning. I don't know. Again, I'm not. Listen, come next month, I don't know what's going to happen when it comes to school because I know they're adamant about it. But as this keeps climbing, the concern's growing, and obviously, as a former teacher, let me ask you: if you were not an officer right now, and you were, let's say, you're still in the teaching profession, how would you be viewing this right now?
I'd be very uncomfortable. We're going back,
and that's what I'm hearing.
But again, so, and I said it when they stopped school just like that and got forced these teachers to do online learning.
Right.
I'm not, the most computer savvy guy, but I do have a degree in instructional technology. I know how to teach via technology.
Sure.
Okay.
And not to mention, even if you never have, you'll get better.
Right. Yeah. And I'm also, not an older guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you're not rejecting it.
Right. If you're a 65-year-old teacher who's been doing this since the 80s, and all of a sudden you got to teach online, my friend, that's not easy, man.
I know.
That's not easy. And that's why, I think these teachers deserve so much credit because that's very difficult. Hey, you've been doing your job 20, 30 years this way. Now we're going to push down your throat this technology-based online teaching that you're not prepared for, you never studied, you never trained on it. That's not easy.
Oh, agreed.
And you have, and I get all the points of, again, our kids have a nice home environment, have 2 loving parents, have food every day, and all their needs met and a shitload of their wants met as well. That's not the case for everybody. There are kids that school is an escape for them.
True.
Because they go home
a lot of
and
times
they got no dad. They're getting fed there. They need the 2 meals and the snack. And at home, dad's gone and mom's on drugs and all that. That obviously does exist. And so I understand kids needing to go to school. But you asked me if I was teaching, I would have reservations about it, because now you're in a classroom with 25 kids and you don't know where they've been, who they've been in contact with, if their parents or cousins or big brothers or big sisters are the idiots all over the beach, like it's no one's business. You also don't know if I have it without any symptoms, and now I may pass it to them with no symptoms, but they're gonna go see grandma because they don't give a shit.
And then now,
And it's just a snowball of, of shit.
no, I get it. And then you got the rotating classes every period.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately or fortunately, we have to worry about this house. You have to worry about your house, and we've already decided. I mean, Frank graduated. He's gonna do the online thing to start college. Jacob and Mia will not be going to school come fall, as far as
No, of course.
the physical location. They're gonna do the e-learning.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the route we're doing
and
as
they've
far as
done.
we can
And
do
I'll
it.
tell you what, they did really well with it. In our case, again, going back, there's kids that need that environment, and they need that socially, because their house is a nightmare, their family is a nightmare. My kids, it's avoided a lot of unnecessary BS. I mean, think about, I got a teenage girl. Can you imagine how much BS we're saving with her not going around school with other teenage girls' BS?
I know.
So for me, I've loved it. Her grades went up.
Because that's all they have to focus on.
Yeah, I have her
So I
here,
get what you're saying.
and we talked about it last week. I've embraced the more time spent together. We got a little thing. It's not a big deal, but Mia, Jacob, and I, every day we watch Chicago PD. Call themselves the Chicago PD crew. Thinking about getting some shirts, and it's good, man. It's a show, but it's.
Oh, I love the show. I mean, I've been watching it since the beginning.
It's like I told Christy. It's brought our 14-year-old girl out of her room, man. She's a teenage girl. Teenage girls usually don't want to be around the parents, and every day, and she'll be like, we're gonna watch today, and she'll have good questions. Jacob too. I'm like, shit, man. I may have a future cop up, up there.
54 for me.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
And then, no, there's nothing wrong
it's
with
tough.
it. I'm not.
You remember and the watch when he goes,
you do what you want.
Would you let your daughter be a cop? Do you mean to all my girl carrying a burner and defend herself against the scums and assholes of the world? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I know. Love the movie.
Yeah.
No, me personally don't.
No,
I pretty much forbid it. Me and him will go to blows when he gets older, if that's what it comes to. Absolutely.
Damn.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I've always said
because I
this.
would want, whatever they do, I would want them to be in careers of service.
Agreed. I told him, go be a firefighter.
The real heroes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but
wink, wink.
I've always said this. Society does not deserve him. Absolutely not. I'm sorry. So
it's definitely.
And you think, listen, you really think this is going to be better
in
20 years from 15 years from now?
Nope.
No. So no. 54.
Yeah. That's tough.
Yep. But hey, it is what it is. That's the way it goes. I told him, bro,
That's tough
go
for
invent
that,
something. Go work for NASA. Seriously.
And it's tough because I spoke to somebody recently, actually, a former student at the school who wanted to be a police officer. Mm-hmm. And, not anymore.
Right.
All this.
I don't blame them.
Pushed them away.
Of course, I don't.
And so what's the quality going to be like 5-10 years from now?
Right.
Because now you need bodies. And so you're not going to get the best of the best.
No, I get it.
Because these kids go into, whatever schools and doing really well in college, they're not going to come out of college and want to.
Of course.
Oh,
what's funny? When you mentioned about Chicago PD, we watched the same thing. Let me ask you, do you watch the other ones?
Chicago Fire, yes. I enjoy Chicago Fire a lot. I don't watch Chicago Med.
It was funny. We started with Fire because that was the first one. Then we watched.
I don't like medical shows.
Right.
When they do the crossover stuff, I'm cool with it.
Okay.
But
I've gotten
man.
burned out.
Blood and
Fire.
guts, no problem. Take my blood. I'm like, I'm like.
I got burned out. Believe it or not, I've gotten burned out on the Fire.
It's a lot of drama.
But it's like,
I mean, it's a show, and I get it.
Okay, how many times? So after a while, I'm like, all right, bro, when are we ending this series?
Yeah.
Like, I remember for a while they had the whole quadruple thing. You got Fire.
The one that didn't last was the Chicago law or
No,
legal or something like that.
It went wiped out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to explain that recently because remember in Chicago PD, Antonio's character, he went to that show.
Yes, remember
as
they were
like
bouncing him around.
Yeah, as like an investigator for the state attorney's office.
Yeah.
And then so I had to explain to me and Jacob, the actor went to another show, another Chicago show, but that didn't last. And he came back, and I was just saying,
I know it's always,
but it's entertaining, man.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, they ask a lot of good questions, and I'll tell them, they're like, oh, does that really happen like that? And I'd be
right, of course.
Look, that part's good.
Like that show's a little better to deal with when it comes to that than if I'm sure my all-time favorite to watch. It's gotta be CSI Miami, bro. Have you? Like, it's almost comical to watch.
That's how Hawaii Five-O got.
Yeah,
it was entertaining, but it was like there is zero reality here when it's like.
Yeah, but CSI,
we went to
Miami was just they would go out. First of all, they're all driving Hummers, and they always were driving across the exact same bridge. They were always traveling across that one bridge all the time. And then there was like, oh, here's a body, and they're like, oh, let's check fingerprints. Oh, look. It's so and so, and they live at this address.
The whole life
they go to the address. Hey, how you doing? We need you to come with us. Like it works like that. Yes.
Yeah.
You can figure it out. They're always at the house that you get the fingerprints from.
Yeah.
And then they come straight in. Why can't we solve stuff in an hour?
Yeah.
Right?
we had a call the other day, and we got a video, and I kind of made a joke. I'm like, well, I just gave that to our facial rec guy, and he'll just slide it onto the big screen, and we'll figure this all out.
These guys always think,
just give me 10 minutes.
This is what it is. The background on this guy's this and this and this. At least in Chicago P, at least they're writing stuff on the board and they're kind of connected. These guys here, they're like, we just they put the phone down, we slide it up, and it tells us exactly everything about them.
And my favorite, it's a little bit slow for the misses, but Blue Bloods. Blue Bloods is to me very realistic and I like the dynamic where Wahlberg's character he's constantly arguing with his sister who's from the state attorney's office, but that's I've been there where you've got a case, this guy did it, what it is, and the state attorney's saying you need more. Like, what do you mean you need more? And you kind of like,
which is true, yes. And that is very much like your life because we get told that all the time.
Yeah, and it doesn't, get as nasty sometimes as the siblings do on the show. But there's a little bit of a respectful, like, back and forth. Like, I'm giving you, this is what we got.
Right.
And that, and nope, you need more. And it's frustrating because you start with nothing, you build a case, and then to be told, not enough, so. If only it was as easy as it is on.
Well, that's what I said. And you got to take off the glasses. And every time someone's running somewhere, he always knew exactly where they were going because he would be around the corner waiting.
Yeah,
it was hilarious.
Oh man,
that's why I love that show. And literally, if you go to YouTube, there's videos that have just been spliced up with just his little one-liners that start the show.
Yeah.
It looks like we've got a murder.
That's
all.
Takes off his glasses.
That's it. So they do that. They literally spliced up because the show would always start with something going on, and then he would do his little one-line thing, and then they would go right into it. So what they did was they spliced up. It's like 20 minutes of just. That's all it is.
Did I tell you about? I think I mentioned it. My dad tells me, he sends me one day a text, and he goes, "Hey, check out this movie. The movie's called Crown Vic." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." Sometimes you find little gems here that a movie you never heard about because there's so many networks.
Keyword might be gem.
So many networks. You got Hulu. You got this, that. So not everything is going to the movies.
True.
And you may find something really good. This movie was the biggest piece of shit that I've seen. So I like a good.
So why did he tell you to watch it?
He didn't know, man. Listen, it had Thomas Jane. The Punisher.
Yeah.
Okay. Millennials were like, no, the Punisher's the other guy. No, it was before. It was Thomas Jane. And then it had some dude who looked like Michael Bublé playing the rookie guy. Thomas Jane's the FTO.
Okay.
The field training officer. And besides the fact of all the shit that happened on this poor guy's first day on the job, I told my dad, I'm sick and tired of seeing the veteran cops portrayed as like these drunk fucking,
you noticed that, right?
Clumsy fucking, just tired of life, like want to eat their gun any minute, Thomas Jane got one eye, he can barely fucking open, and he's all looking all half drunk and shit and doesn't give a fuck. And you'll see kid one day, oh, you believe in love? That's gonna fuck up. I'm on my 5th marriage.
And
all
I'm
this.
like, that's
who the
not
fuck
really.
is-
I'm like, nobody's like that.
Yeah. Then there was a poor casting, man. There's a scene where they meet up in the patrol car in the Crown Vic. Hence the title. Where the unmarked unit, 2 detectives in an unmarked car, also a Crown Vic, and the one detective who's driving, they kind of stop door to door and all that, and they're busting the rookie's balls and all that stuff, giving him a hard time. And this guy they even reference he's on fucking steroids, and he's got like roid rage, and he's just like all pumped up and jacked and like over the top. And I'm like, I don't know that guy in any agency that I've dealt with, not one.
Yeah.
Then his partner was the worst casting choice I've ever seen in my life. If you see this guy, you know the actor, you've seen him before. The scrawniest, littlest guy, who's the partner, detective partner of the all jacked guy. I mean, he looks like he's a $130 soaking wet with the vest that's bigger than him. I mean, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. So in one of the scenes, the jacked detective is roughing up a guy who had scratched him 2 days before, a junkie. The rookie has to put the gun on the detective. Enough is enough. I'm like, get the that would never ever happen. Ever happen.
Well, after seeing this mess, did you tell your dad what you thought?
I absolutely did. I called him the next day. I go, thanks for I go.
He's
listen.
probably like, oh, it was great, right?
No, you know what? I'm like, you know better, Pops. You know better. Because I go, he goes, no, which is a good point, which is why I saw it when he showed it to me.
Yeah.
You don't see many with the 2 patrol officers in the car, whatever. And so he said, yeah, you don't see those movies often like that, where it's the true patrol guys on the beat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I go, well, I mean, End of Watch is like the best.
Agreed.
That more so the dynamic of 2 dudes, and even though like we don't ride 2-man here and except when there's severe tragedies that we'll do it for a day or 2, but the kind of like messing around amongst each other.
Yeah.
That was portrayed very good in that movie. And I know the ending sucks. Spoilers.
Yeah, I know.
But I love that movie. It's one of my top 3
No,
of all
I
time.
agree. It was one of the more, I guess, real versions of what you would.
Yes,
you would
they
see.
gave you a snippet of like
yeah.
where Jake Gyllenhaal's character even says, they're doing paperwork, and it's the boring part that nobody wants to see because people think like, oh, you're a cop. Like it's like movies. Like I'm like, no, it's.
Well, the TV show was always because I could see why, and it was funny being one. I could never stand watching the damn thing, but the show Cops, and I've seen a bit of Live PD, but it's always funny because they only show you the parts where he chases the guy or whatever they ends up with, and they put him in cuffs, they put him in the back of the car, and then they'll talk to the camera. Yeah, well, he's going to be charged with this, and this, and then it goes to commercial, and then it comes back. They don't get into the hours of paperwork that you got to sit there and get all the junk, and then
they don't show you the part where
transport
you have to meet with a zone partner or somebody to literally watch your back
the entire
while you're doing your report in your car. They're sitting in their car just making sure you don't get ambushed.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if you got good partners, depending on the complexity of the case, I'm handling the arrest. You'll take the property for me or the drugs. This guy will take the gun for me. I mean, teamwork.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, nobody sees that part of it.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, I go and I stop the guy and we put him in and we go to jail. No.
I wish they would
There's
show
so much
once and for all.
There's so much junk that goes with it.
I wish they would show once and for all how reading somebody their Miranda rights really works. Because you see people to this day, they had to read the rights. They didn't read their rights. No, that doesn't work that way. It's not like they have to read their rights as soon as they put the cuffs on them. Yeah, if you are on a network television series.
Yes, I know.
It doesn't work that way in real life.
But that's what I'm saying. So you get a lot of that stuff. And you know what? It's funny, as we run into civilians that we've come into contact with over the years, you hear them, they almost sound like TV shows. Because this is what and I get it, this is where they've learned about law. Law and Order, and like this, you know, and this stuff. I know my right. You know, there's a lot of stuff that you hear, and I'm like, no, but that's not true, and this is not how that works. And I've had people that think that because of CSI Miami, we can have it solved in an hour, whatever it is. They're like, well, can't you just take the fingerprints and, you know, it scans it and tells you?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, this is.
And then the parts that are just downright boring sometimes. You know, I mean, we joked about it the other day, where every day you in your unit, I mean, you have your area every day.
Yeah.
So, but working down the road for me, they kind of move me around a lot, and so every day when it's lunchtime, I gotta tactically find a shaded area. No, and it's funny, but it's true, because people don't think about that. It's not just a shaded area so I can have my lunch in peace. It's a shaded area where I can see everything around me.
Yeah. Where
so,
people can't come up on you.
Do I have a shaded area where I can back into a building? I can't just pick any shaded area. I don't want all access points available where you can ambush me either which way. So you gotta try to find a spot where you're backed in somewhere to a wall where, like, you know, my peripheral at least can keep. And that's part of my day, every day.
I know.
So that I can have my meal in 10, 15 minutes in the car and
we all do
go
it.
on to the next car.
I eat in my car most of the time, especially now.
You know,
most of the places are closing. You can only pick up anyway, and I'm not going inside any restaurants.
Every day, you know, we got to take our cooler.
Yeah.
We got to take our snacks, our protein drinks, all that good stuff. It's not, and that's, again, and the watch showed a little bit of that.
Yeah, you get.
You know, where they're going in the car and you go, I got you that Monster and that drink you like, you know, and all that bullshit. But no, because, you know, so.
Listen, you could go, you already know, we could go hours for saying, look, this is what you see, this is what's real life. Yeah. This is what you see, this is what's real life. This is how it really works.
And I don't know about you, I love explaining it to people. Like again, my dad will watch a show. Like, again, we'll always talk about Blue Bloods because that's our favorite. And he'll call me and he'll be like, hey, that when this scene is it like that or something, you know?
Well, this is why I drive my wife crazy. Anytime the shows come on, I have to be quiet, because I'm like, that's bullshit, that's wrong, that's not how it works. Dude. I'm like, get the out of here.
We get it all the time. My God, it's just a show.
Yeah, so I've just learned. I'm just like la 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 la.
I'm like, don't.
So I see something happen, and I'm like,
yeah,
that's not.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Oh my God, it's just a show.
And I understand. Listen, I understand.
Like, listen, if they made a flower show and they didn't do it the right way, you know, you being in the flower business, you may say something.
I understand.
So,
because, yes, you're trying to watch it for entertainment, and I can't go in expecting this is going to be realistic. I get it. I can't help it sometimes, and I'm like, if you're going to a house on a warrant that SWAT's going to, the detective in the suit with the 9mm probably not going to lead the charge through the door.
Unless you're Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's the only one.
Or you're David Caruso. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
The redhead. Oh my God.
And he's the only one without a helmet, because he's the star of the show. You can't cover his mug. Yeah, man. But that's why, all kidding aside, I always encourage people, you know.
Do ride-alongs.
Yes.
Just so you can see what it's really like. Or you know what, too? Which I highly recommend,
Did you do ride-along
the Citizens Academy.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
And they do a ride-along in that.
The thing is not just the ride-along. The Citizens Academy, they walk you through every process that we do when it comes to evidence gathering.
Putting property in evidence.
Like, they show you everything. So it's funny. You run into citizens that have actually been through it. You find out that a lot of them have gone through multiple times because they liked it that much. So, and they say it was crazy, but they understand how things work. Yeah.
How was your ride along when you did it?
It was okay. It wasn't super eventful. But
midnight shift?
It was night shift. But I mean, I realized back then too that the paperwork was going to be just nauseating.
I remember seeing.
I was like, man, this is.
I remember seeing, slow for a little bit. We're chilling. We're having a meal. Boop! Call. Gotta go.
Right.
And then you never know. And I remember like yesterday. It was a Friday. I had taught that day. So back then, midnight shift was 6 to 6 or some shit like that. And I go in a shirt and tie because I don't know why I had it in my mind. That's the way you were supposed to go. And I had it set that I was going to stay the whole shift. And I remember the guy, I won't say his name, real nice officer who.
Because they're like, I don't really want you here the entire
Right, right.
Get
Of
the-
course, he
and
never,
now you know this.
He
You're like,
never,
get the-
he never made me feel that way. But now we know.
You start realizing, yeah, we don't want you here the
So
whole
he
shift.
was like, hey, I can drop you off if you want. Now I'm like, oh, it's not the same to you. I'm gonna say the whole shift. He's like, fuck,
And this guy's sitting in the car like,
Yeah. But
yeah, once you get to that 2-3 hour mark, you're like, all right, brother, might be time to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you here.
I didn't mind. Well, that's not true. There's sometimes, depending who it was, if I knew the person or I had a buddy of mine come do a ride along with me once, and it was great for him to get that perspective and see and what we deal with and all that. But then there's other people that are kind of like frequent flyers, and you're like, oh god, this.
Yeah, I had my cousin come once, but he was doing it for a term paper for when he was in college.
Okay.
And he was doing it for that, so I let him come with me for that. I made sure to try to jump on as many calls as I could to get him some kind of exposure.
Yeah.
Because they're not sending me to stuff most of the time, so I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that we did. But
I actually had my buddy when I was on Road Patrol, and then I had another buddy when I was in Street Crimes, Marvin. I call him my cousin, and that was amazing, and he really liked it because I think it was my last case before I got out of the unit,
Oh, okay.
and I was investigating a robbery, and he got to see that and see the way I spoke to people, and like we went and we saw we went to like a couple gangbangers' house, and we all knew they knew shit. They didn't want to tell me shit, and kind of like the wordplay that I was kind of to get what I needed to get, and he ended up because he was in town at the time for a little bit. He had to go back to he ended up moving to Jersey, but I remember like sending him the flyer once I caught the guy and the whole thing, and but it was real cool for him to see because this is a guy that years ago, before I had any idea of being a cop, I used to fuck around and be like, bro, let's be cops, bro. Like we were teenagers, let's be cops, we'll be like bad boys, and he'd be like, fuck that. It's like, hell no. And as a matter of fact, he's the one that introduced me to guns way before I was a cop.
Yeah.
Because he's always carried legally.
By the way, another myth: just because you're a cop, you're a gun nut. No. 54.
Nope.
59.
No.
No, I'm not saying I don't like guns. I'm just not some nut that.
No.
I'm not a gun nut. I don't have to own every gun. But just people think that. No.
People
not true.
think that. We know how to handle our guns. We know how to shoot what we carry. I think we both have just our duty gun,
Duty, off duty, rifle.
our rifle, and our off duty.
Yeah. So
That's it.
That's it. But listen, and there's nothing wrong with it. I know quite a few gun collectors, and I've gone shooting with some of them. They got some awesome stuff.
It's just not.
But I'm just like, ugh, I can't. They're so
I don't need
expensive.
50.
I know.
That's probably, if they were less expensive, maybe I would
Man,
add a little
but
bit
man, are
more.
they expensive.
But it's not, let's look at this 1936,
I know.
I'm like, no, I'm good.
Well, listen, we could go on about this all day. Easy. But we want them to watch our other videos. So,
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So I think we're wrapping it up, man. We went, close to 50 minutes.
Yeah.
This time.
All right, brother.
Next Tuesday, because
Oh.
we got to...
We were joined by Little Castillo.
We got Pudge.
Little Louis Castillo. and
Little Louis and
Pudge.
Little Pudge.
Yeah. We're going to have to rub the heads every time we do a show, just to make sure. All right, guys? Yeah.
Yeah, man. But I'll see you then tomorrow, but we'll see them